Jubilee President Sports Program. Tim Kursnick is here with Ryan Hartson. Thank you to Corey for being on the show for the NBA segments, talking about the point guards. But if anyone really cares, there's still hockey going on, and it's been a great series so far.
Oh yeah, we're doing Stanley Cup, breaking it down, letting Tim have a little segment where he can spread his wings and fly. So, little Stanley Cup. We have a Game 7 coming up.
Game 7.
Boston Bruins.
And the Vancouver
Canucks. At least I got the team right now.
You're hesitating there. But,
sorry.
But really, Game 7 can also be used as, red alert for the Vancouver Canucks. They're going down again, and it's a familiar feeling for them. They had this kind of an implosion with Luongo being pulled last night in Boston, giving up 3 goals in the first 10 minutes. It was just ridiculous, and Boston has been all over them, beating them in Game 3 8-1, and then shutting them out the next night 4-0. In all, Vancouver on Boston's ice has been outscored 17-3, and that's just ridiculous. I mean, and Luongo has been struggling. They got traffic in front of them, and that was coming after Game 5. Luongo shut Boston out 1-0, and they were talking about Tim Thomas got caught up for a goal, and he said, all you got to do is stay in the paint, and you can make the save. That's all you got to do. And this is coming after 2 series against the Blackhawks, where he had Dustin Byfuglien standing right in front of him, and he was having major trouble with that. And so he goes and talks about Tim Thomas being caught up in traffic. But then, in Game 6, they're on Boston's ice. They have a chance to win the Stanley Cup, and he's pulled in the first 10 minutes. And he's kind of eating his own words. Because they got traffic in front of him, and that was the deal. Was that he's like, I'm staying in my paint. I'm going to make this save. But he wasn't. Then a screen on the Andrew Ferentz goal, which was the one that pulled him, and then a deflection on Corey Schneider, who was the guy who came in to back him up. Corey puts his arms up in the air. Yay, Corey who plays sports. Don't come across that very often. But there's an injury to Vancouver's most dynamic defenseman, in my opinion, Dan Hamhuis, who I always hate saying his name because it's a real tongue twister for some reason for me. Hamhuis. It's like
how's that spelled?
It's Hamhuis.
Where's that written?
Right there.
Hamhuis?
Yeah, Hamhuis.
Hamhuis.
He's been a major part of their President's Trophy winning offense, well, and goaltending for that matter, but that's a different thing. But he's been injured, so that resulted in Alain Vigneault coming up with 3 different defensive pairings for Game 6, and that certainly affected their play. Kevin Bieksa's play with the absence of his partner Hamhuis, as his play has dwindled, and all in all, this is amounting to not being able to solve Tim Thomas. He's making the saves, he's flying all over in the crease, just stopping guys at point blank, and in my opinion, they could do what Boston is doing to them. That's getting traffic in front of the net. That's the simple rule in hockey, is that you want to get traffic in front of the net. Vancouver's more of a finesse team. They have a speed. They have Daniel and Henrik Sedin, Ryan Kessler, and I think that if they use more just screens, deflections, picking up rebounds. Luongo is a guy known for kicking out huge rebounds, like just out right in the slot where anybody can pick it up and just put it right behind him because he's all sprawled out. But Thomas has been in the rhythm and everything, but they need a guy in front of him who can disrupt him, and that's really their problem right now. And with the defensemen not being confident in each other after playing with guys they're unfamiliar with, that's being a problem. So if they can't get the shots from the point, then there's no chance for traffic in front, and then that means just more point blank saves on the Sedins and Kessler, which isn't going to get him anywhere. So Luongo eating his words, and then another thing that Vancouver's kind of making himself look silly here is that Daniel Sedin guaranteed that they will win Game 7. What do you think about that? A guy guaranteeing that you're winning a Game 7 for a championship.
Well, Vancouver's at home, right?
Vancouver's at home.
Yeah, I'd do that.
You like it?
The home team has won every game in this series.
That's true. And
I mean, if the home game wins every game in this series, what the hell's going to happen in Game 7? Home team's going to win.
Yeah, right.
This series has been extremely predictable from that standpoint. So if you're going to have that game at home and you're the home team, hell yeah, we're going to win the game.
I personally don't like it. I think that after the Luongo incident and just calling out other guys and everything, I think that the Canucks should kind of remain quiet like at this point and see what happens in Game 7. Go out there, play hard.
They've always been a bit of a cocky group, though.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Stupid, more stupid than cocky with some of those stupid comments playing the Blackhawks in the playoffs last year, from what I remember.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they always have something to say, and Boston just gonna have to shut them up.
Yeah. So I mean, Daniel, we'll see what happens in Game 7. If they lose, then Vancouver is just gonna look like bum 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 bum.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah, we beat the Blackhawks. We could do anything. I mean, after getting over that, they pretty much acted like they won the Stanley Cup, which I think gave them a confidence boost through the playoffs. But now they're dealing with a team they don't play very often, and they're running all over them. So it's coming down all through Game 7, and Tim Thomas, it was just about wrapped up the Conn Smythe, having a heck of a postseason. I think he's going to be the ending blow to the Vancouver season in Game 7.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Game 7 here?
I gotta think Vancouver's gonna do it.
You think so?
But really quick, I want to ask you a Luongo question. You mind if I ask you a Luongo question?
Sure.
Why is it he stands on his head and plays brilliantly in Vancouver and then gives up 15 goals in Boston?
Yeah.
15 goals.
17 in total.
I heard 15 this morning.
Oh.
You're wrong. No, I'm kidding.
I just told
lot.
it up.
A lot of
lot,
goals.
a lot.
Why is it that you have two different goalies at home and in Boston?
Well, Luongo has been a guy known in the past to not succeed on the road, and that goes back to playing Chicago for 2 straight years. Chelsea Dagger blaring every time that he gave up a goal got into his head, and especially that 7-5 Game 6 in 2009 against the Blackhawks, where he gave up the hat trick and everything, and he wasn't the same postseason goalie since. I really don't know, because it seems like every other night he goes out there with lights out, and Vancouver is going crazy, with the loo and everything, because after every big save. But I think personally that Luongo is just not the goaltender for the Vancouver Canucks. If he's going to go out there in a Stanley Cup final and give up 8 goals and then 3 goals in the first 10 minutes of a game where you have a chance to win the Stanley Cup.
But that's in Boston.
That's it. That is in Boston.
So Vancouver, I think he's going to stand out his head and play brilliantly. My money's on Vancouver. I think they're going to pull it out.
Well, whatever it is, I think I'm not going to be surprised if it's 1-0 or 2-1 in overtime. It's going to be a real goaltending battle, I'm sure.
So you're calling for overtime?
I would like to see an overtime. We haven't had a Game 7 overtime for the Stanley Cup final in quite a while, but it'll be interesting. If Vancouver wins, I think it might be like the Jean-Sébastien Giguère situation a couple of seasons ago when he was the losing team's goaltender but still won the Conn Smythe for
big game Thursday night.
Postseason MVP.
All right, so final prediction.
I think Boston's going to pull it out. They're gonna be.
They haven't won a game in Vancouver yet.
They haven't won a game in Vancouver.
Now, they played brilliantly. They just haven't won.
Yeah.
And that should give them a ton of confidence.
They have a few injured guys that is really motivating them, and they have the drive there. But, on the other hand, Vancouver has injuries and suspensions. Aaron Rome got suspended last night.
Yeah, I saw that for, knocking that guy out for whatever.
Yeah, right. But that seems to be affecting them negatively, while Boston is being affected positively. They got Tyler Seguin, who's stepping in a huge role with the injury of Mark Savard and everything. So I think Boston's going to do it.
I think in all sports, trends are trends. And when the home team's won every game, I got to go with the home team. I'm going to take Vancouver. But hey, hockey, all hockey does is break trends. The only trend in hockey is that it breaks trends.
Yeah, right.
So there you go. That was awesome. Good going with you.
Thank you.
You ready to keep going?
Yeah, more
Got a
baseball.
little baseball for you.
Baseball. Yeah.
This Week in Baseball, the highest rated segment we do weekly here on the program next.
This is Jim Miller, President Sports Program.
On BWC Internet Radio.